This video discusses how China is using its old tricks in Northeast Indian state of Manipur to gain territory with Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi's connivance. Hello friends, this is Unmasked Truth with Harmanjit Saini, where I provide unique analysis of world events based on the unmasked truth that after surrender, Germany continued World War II clandestinely and became a killing machine. I also provide true news that you will find nowhere else. Prime Minister Narendra Modi of India is on a state visit to the United States today. He has received a very warm red carpet welcome. Current US administration of President Joe Biden is very friendly with Narendra Modi. Therefore, the kind of issues I'm discussing with you will not be raised by the US administration. But I rely on my own sources of information, which are opposed to the German masqueraders who are people of German ancestry living in white countries, China, and Modi's India, because they know that these nations plot to destroy whites of non German ancestry in these countries and take over the land for themselves. Northeast Indian states need to be warned about what is going on in their states, particularly in the small state of Manipur, with an estimated population of about 3.3 million among India's estimated 1.4 billion population. So, what old tricks is China using in Northeast India? Here are some quotes from an ancient Chinese general, Sun Tzu's Art of War. The greatest victory is that which requires no battle. The supreme art of war is to subdue the enemy without fighting. The wise warrior avoids the battle. Using such principles, the Chinese and German dream is to inveigle other nations to fight their target enemy so that they can learn the target enemy's war tactics, strengths and weaknesses, and then weaken the enemy in the process. Another strategy is to incite ethnic hatreds within the target enemy nation, leading to civil war that will destroy it so that they can just walk in and take over the land, or considerably weaken it so that it can then easily be conquered by them. Germany and China have been trying to start the Third World War with the United States, British Commonwealth nations or Britcom nations, and Israel since 2014. They first brought down Malaysian, Indonesian, Ukrainian, and Ethiopian airliners, all Boeing aircraft, hoping that the United States would help these nations. That did not start the war. Then the Chinese tried to inveigle the Ayatollah of Iran to start the war with the United States, but the USA killed General Soleimani of Iran, which ended that attempt. The Ayatollah was also warned about China's scheme to use Iran to start the war on the promise that China would enter the war. But China would back out of its promise without hesitation and leave Iran holding the bag to face the USA on its own. Now, Sikhs are a US ally for the past about 20 years. I'm a former Sikh. When the United States learned that the Germans had targeted them for utter destruction because they fought the Germans in both world wars as part of the British and Indian armies. In 2017, German ally China tried to use Narendra Modi of India to kill all 50,000 or so genuine Sikh soldiers in the Indian military services at the Doklam standoff by sending them all to the war front. This was in 2017. Modi was warned that Indians worldwide as well as those living among Sikhs would be killed in retaliation, so he backed off. Their purpose in killing all Sikh soldiers was that it would then be easy to commit genocide on the Sikh population in India. China's hope was that Modi would begin the process of mass murdering Sikhs, which would invite USA intervention by starting a war with India. That would give Germany and China an opportunity to see how the USA would respond and then weaken the US militarily. Then German masqueraders in the United States and British Commonwealth nations would start a deadly civil war that would destroy their nations or weaken them so much that Germany and China would simply be able to walk in to take over the land. Then in 2020, India passed three farm bills that would have severely negatively affected Sikh and Punjabi farmers. Farmers gathered in very large numbers at India's capital Delhi to agitate against the farm bills. Now, Sikhs are also Punjabis because they live mainly in the Punjab state in India. So their agitation continued for 1 year. Modi's plan at that time was to murder hundreds of thousands of them to disperse the agitating farmers. Modi was again warned that if he attempted any such thing, Gujaratis, who are people from Modi's home state, living abroad, and his other Indian allies living among Punjabis in India would be killed in retaliation. Modi again backed off. Another plot was hatched to destroy all Sikh soldiers in the Indian military by dispersing them in small numbers in units throughout the 1.4 million strong Indian military. The hope in all these plots is that the United States would intervene on behalf of the Sikhs and start a war. Modi and other Indian allies of the Germans were also planning to assassinate prominent Punjabi businessmen and political leaders. The USA finally got fed up with these plots and needed to send Modi and his government a strong message. It assassinated India's top general Bipin Rawat by bringing his helicopter down, killing him, his wife, and 12 other military personnel. This was done in December 2021. The warning message was that Indian top political and business leaders can be killed quite easily in retaliation if Modi continued with these plots. Germany and China have been trying to use the Taliban government in Afghanistan, dominated by Pashtuns, in collaboration with the Pakistan government of Shahbaz Sharif, who's also a Pashtun but masquerading as a Pakistani Punjabi, to attack North India and destroy the Sikhs. The Taliban regime in Afghanistan was warned that Kabul would be destroyed with just one tactical nuclear strike. China, in the response, has given nuclear weapons to the Taliban regime, but I doubt if the Taliban would be foolish enough to attack North India before the start of the Third World War. Once the war starts, they will jump in and attack North India and try to destroy the Sikhs and Punjabis and take over Kashmir and Punjab states as well as North India, warning these nations that if they started the war against the United States and its allies, they should not rely on China and Germany's promise to enter the war against the United States and British Commonwealth nations, because they will first see if the victory will be easy or not. If they assess that the victory will not be easily assured, they will not enter the war and will leave these nations, that's Afghanistan and Pakistan, holding the bag. The warning has had the intended effect so far. China has used other tactics to inveigle other nations to destroy themselves. For example, they promised their support to Cambodia and inveigle the Pol Pot regime to murder their own people by telling the regime that the only way for the revolution to succeed and for them to hold on to power like the Chinese communists is to murder the intellectuals who oppose the revolution. This is diabolical cunning craftiness. They tried the same tactics in India and Nepal by supporting the communist parties in these countries, but not with the same success. They are now using Modi to use the same tactics in India. As already explained, China and Germany have been trying to use Modi and their many other Indian allies to destroy the Punjabis and Sikhs. China has designs on other territories of India, such as the Ladakh region and Kashmir, but particularly the whole of Northeast India. For example, in May 2020, skirmishes between Indian and Chinese forces occurred near Pangong Lake of Ladakh. When matters are settled between China and India, Modi's governments hand over small chunks of more Indian territory to China and lie about it. In its map, China claims the whole Indian state of Arunachal Pradesh in the east as its territory. But China has designs on the whole of Northeast India and to annex it to China eventually, as it annexed Tibet. It already exercises considerable control over Myanmar through the junta ruling there. The Northeast Indian state of Manipur borders Myanmar, which has recently experienced escalation in ethnic and religious violence. Just as China inveigled the Cambodians to destroy themselves through the Pol Pot regime, China is trying to use the same old trick in Northeast India, beginning with Manipur state, and Modi is their willing ally in this scheme. Northeast India consists of the states of Assam, Meghalaya, Arunachal Pradesh, Nagaland, Manipur, Tripura, and Sikkim. It has a population of about 45 million, belonging to more than 400 tribes and communities. Manipur is home to about 3.3 million people from about 33 different tribes. The majority Métis make up about 53% of the population, are Hindus by religion and live in the valley. Nagas and Kuki tribes live in the hills of Manipur and together constitute about 43% of the population and follow the Christian faith. More than 40 insurgent groups have a long history in the state of fighting each other over conflicting homeland demands and often target India's security forces to protest the controversial anti-insurgent laws such as the Armed Forces Special Powers Act, which grants search and seizure powers to the security forces. However, the recent violence began on May 3, 2023, when Kukis protested against the demand of the Métis seeking tribal status. That would permit the Métis to buy lands in the hills which are inhabited by the Kukis and Nagas mainly. However, the violence had somewhat abated after about 3 weeks. Then India's Home Minister Amit Shah visited the state in an effort to quell the violence, but the violence exploded afresh. Since the violence began, more than 100 have been dead and over 400 wounded. Nearly 60,000 people have been displaced and are taking shelter in some 350 camps. Some 40,000 security forces, that's army soldiers, paramilitaries, and police, are struggling to quell the violence. More than 200 churches and 17 temples have been burnt, destroyed, or damaged. Homes of local ministers and legislators have been set on fire. Many fear that this violence is going to lead to a civil war in the state with no end in sight. While analysts are stating that the cause of violence is ethnic rather than religious this time, that is not the real story. This violence, which is likely to lead to civil war, is the handiwork of Prime Minister Narendra Modi and his fellow Gujarati Home Minister Amit Shah. Media reports that the violence, which began on May 3, 2023, had abated but escalated after Amit Shah visited the state, ostensibly to quell the violence. His visit instead inflamed the violence. The reason is that he clandestinely injected religion into the violence by discussing the issue with the majority Hindu Métis tribe, including its chief minister. Just as the Germans and Chinese hate Christianity, but don't be fooled by Germans masquerading as Christians. They are anti-Christian Satan worshippers. So just as the Germans and Chinese hate Christianity, Modi and Shah are Christianity haters and were acting on the wishes of the Chinese allies. So how was Amit Shah able to fan the flames of fire in Manipur? By playing the economic card. Modi's BJP party promised the majority leaders of Manipur state economic prosperity if they would join his party. So they did. That's how the BJP came to control the government in that state. China's goal is to start civil wars in the Northeastern Indian states in the hope that the people will destroy each other, making it easy for China to control the people and the land. Modi, as an ally of China, has been plotting to have China attack North India and destroy the Punjabis living in Greater Punjab, consisting of the Indian states of Punjab, Haryana, Himachal Pradesh, Jammu and Kashmir, Delhi, Uttar Pradesh, and Uttarakhand. The Chinese have been trying to inveigle the Pashtuns of Afghanistan and Pakistan to carry out the task for them. In the same way, Modi is trying to help the Chinese accomplish that in Northeast India. Modi thus is trying to sell North and Northeast India to the Chinese so that his West India, that is Gujarat and Rajasthan states, and his ally South India can benefit economically. No media outlet or analyst sees a Chinese hand in what is going on in the current violence in Manipur state. But Modi and his henchman Amit Shah work clandestinely to make it all possible for the Chinese. My sincere hope is that the people of Northeastern Indian state realize what is going on. People of Manipur, please stop fighting each other. If you all continue fighting each other in civil wars and destroy each other, China will simply walk into your lands and enslave your survivors. You will become a Christian colony. Modi is working with them to make it happen. Modi and Shah are not your friends, they are your deadly enemies. They are trying to sell you to the Chinese. You have been warned. I will go even further and warn the Bengalis. Even though you are allied with the Germans, beware of the Chinese. Once they control Northeast India, then you are next. After all, they will want access to the Bay of Bengal as well. Thank you very much for watching this video. Please continue to watch my videos on important world events, World War III watch, politics, international business, how Bible prophecy is playing an important role in world affairs, advice on health and medical problems, and much more for in-depth and insightful analysis. Please also subscribe to my YouTube and Facebook channels, Unmasked Truth with Harmanjit Saini, to view and get information on the latest videos.